You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Oh, I am here this week with Rachel and only Rachel.
Mean
Victoria.
I'm here with you, Kirk?
Well, we are with each other for this experience, as well as all of our listeners. I was saying that as a way of pointing out that Victoria will not be with us for the next two shows.
Yeah.
Her busy schedule is keeping her away. She's saving people's lives, I guess. That's,
Well, it's also summer, and we tend to do things with our families and lives in the summer, I guess.
I guess. All right. So we've got some fun stuff for you, though.
I'm so excited.
I have a great story for this week. It was sent in by one of our listeners. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that I just love these listener sent in stories.
Oh, it's my favorite.
Especially when it's something that's local to them, right? Because I had never heard of this week's story because it's not well known. It's a bizarre
Kirk,
local
you and I
phenomenon.
know so many local bizarre things.
I know, and
so
this
many,
one though,
but it's so local. I love it when other local bizarre things get to be a part of the show and we get to learn about it.
Yeah, because I would not have discovered this myself. It's not something I would have stumbled into. So this is just a reminder or a plug here as well. If you have something strange where you live that you want us to share with our audience, you can always email us at contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. I hope we hear from more of you with some of these ideas because they're really fun. If there's a certain person you think it should be directed to as well, put that in the subject line, so that we don't read it and we can surprise each other with the topic there.
Yeah, I would like to say for this topic, I'm excited about it. I remember that I glanced through it, and then Kirk mentioned that he was going to do it, and I'm like, okay, great, perfect. I will forget what the topic was, and I'm
have
very
you
proud
completely
that I have
forgotten
it? Yeah, it's gone.
Well, this week's story comes to us from Amber, who's a relatively new listener. Hey, Amber. She said, powering her way through our back catalog. I don't know if she's going to hear this until she catches up. So this should be a fun surprise when she finally does. I think she said she's still back in 2024. So she's got a lot of episodes left to go through.
From the future.
Yeah, hello from the future, Amber. Now, what Amber told me is that she used to live in Potter County, Pennsylvania. And it is there where we find something truly bizarre. Amber suggested we talk about the Coudersport Ice Mine. Well, Amber, I looked into it. And
why are we mining ice?
Well, it's really...
Can we mine
really
ice? Are we...
It's not about mining ice.
Okay, because I'm fully thinking beginning of frozen ice harvest.
Yeah, because that's what people
different.
Traditionally have done. Well, I'll say here where we live, but all across the places that freeze in the winter, mining ice was a thing you did. But it was more ice harvesting, we would call it, out of lakes, right, for the summer, because obviously you make ice in the winter.
I would hope so.
The Coudersport Ice Mine is a mine that fills with ice. So the name Ice Mine, I guess, really is apt. And I'll say I've been in a lot of caves, which are essentially similar to mines. Not too far from where we are here in Iowa are the Decorah Ice Caves. I haven't been to that one, but I've been caving very close to it down in Iowa. There's lots of caves in that area. And sometimes you find ice inside a cave that has formed in the winter, and then it will stick around for a while, underground.
I suppose that makes sense.
The issue is, though, that most caves have a stable year-round temperature that is, pretty interestingly, about whatever the average annual temperature is for the location. That's just what it is underground. So in a lot,
thinking about where I used to live.
Yeah, but even there, it would.
Cave.
it would probably not. You're averaging it all the summer temperatures
It would be
as well,
cold.
right?
I know,
Yeah, most
but
caves
it would
are
still
cool.
Be really cold.
The average annual temperature for like around where we're recording here is probably, it's sort of a mid-latitude part of the U.S. Comes out to around 54 degrees Fahrenheit to 59 degrees. That's 12 degrees centigrade to 15. So
I could take that.
It's actually feels kind of warm in the winter to go into a cave or a mine, and it often feels nice and air conditioned in the summer. So but it's not cold enough usually to make ice, is what I'm trying to point out in most caves.
Right.
So it's kind of special when you do find these ice caves. And caves or mines with ice in them it's a little weird, but the utterly bizarre claim, I will say, about the Coudersport Ice Mine is that unlike, say, the Decorah Ice Cave near here, where ice forms in the winter and persists into summer, at the Coudersport Ice Mine, thick layers of ice form not in the winter, but in the summer. And then they melt in the winter.
What?
Which is like,
That's flip-flopped. It's the other way around, Kirk.
It's the opposite of logic, I like to say. It simply seems to make absolutely no sense.
It's not my freezer. It's not an ice maker.
Right. It's weird enough to be making ice, but how are you doing it in the summer?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
In Pennsylvania, too. They're lower down than we are in latitude. So that means that
it's even warmer on average.
It's even warmer. What?
Yeah, which makes it less likely. So how and why would ice form in the summer and then melt in the winter? Now, this was the claim, and I did some digging on this to get to the beginning of the story. We have to realize that this really is a mine and not a cave. So who made this mine? How did this all start? Local history tells us that it was Native Americans who first mined in this area. Okay. So our story needs to go back to pre-settlement times. And, there's simply no records of when mining would have begun in this area. Silver and lead seems to be the two minerals that are most commonly talked about. And I will say my main source for much of this material is actually a Popular Mechanics article from back in 1913. So this article was over 100 years old. And
an article in Popular Mechanics from 1913?
Yeah, Popular Mechanics has been around for a long time.
I did not know they were around that long. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool old magazine that's been around for a long time. But they mention Indians, as they call them in the story, and they don't really bother to go into like who, because it's like they didn't really care. Yeah. And I had to dig around some other sources. I did find that Potter County was inhabited originally by the Lenape people. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I believe it's Lenape. And specifically, it sounds like a sort of a sub-tribe known as the Wolves or the Minzi. And the local word was that they had somewhere a local source of silver in the hills that they had access to. Okay. And that seems to be like not just like a rumor, like maybe they're getting it from somewhere far away. We do know that there were extensive transcontinental trade networks in the Americas. So silver could have been coming from far away. But what we do know is that when these early settlers had taken over this area, Native Americans were occasionally seen coming back in groups to the area of around, say, 5 to 6 men to search in the hills. And the word was that they were looking for this traditional silver and lead mines whose locations had been like passed down to them by their ancestors who had previously lived there. And most of the time, these search parties came back empty-handed, or at least they claimed they did. And settlers would occasionally go out in the hills searching for these mines, but never found anything. And in 1894 or 1895, something changed. A native man is said to have shown up in town, ate lunch, and then headed off into the hills, only to return with silver ore that he had wrapped up in a bandana. And he proudly showed it off to the townsfolk, and people predictably went nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Because, that's
silver.
That's money sitting out there, right? So it turns out there was indeed something to be mined, and this set off a frenzy of settlers scouring these hillsides looking for these hidden mines. And if you're wondering at this point, yes, there are known deposits of silver in Pennsylvania. So this is not like completely ridiculous. I will say nothing significant has ever been found in Potter County, but that doesn't mean there wasn't some small deposit that, people were just mining, locally for a period of time. So lots of people went searching, and the most important for the purposes of our story were John Dodd and William O'Neill, who went prospecting near Sweden Valley. And while digging around, they didn't find an abandoned secret silver mine. That would have been pretty interesting. They found something
be a wild, hey, we found what we were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, they found something, I think, stranger. Underneath 4 or 5 inches of moss, they found a layer of solid ice. Now,
That's a lot of moss.
It's a very mossy forest. And that comes into the story later on. This is a very heavily forested, shady area. Mm-hmm. And I can find no record of what season this was, but I will say I don't think it was in the winter that they found this ice under the moss, which is kind of
generally if you're looking to dig or find silver, you're going to want to have the ground not be frozen. Yeah,
people don't do as much prospecting in the middle of the winter, especially in a place like Pennsylvania where you're going to have a lot of snow.
Mm-hmm.
So they started to clear away the moss and apparently eventually cleared an area of about 20 square feet. And there was just all this ice under the moss. And they were like, well, this is interesting. So they chose that as their place to start digging a prospecting pit, if you will. And they started to hack and dig away at this thin layer of ice. And then they started to dig into the earth. And at this point, they were not trying to find a lost mine. Like I said, they're trying to create their own prospecting pit.
Right.
They dug down 9 feet underground.
That's so much digging. That's manual digging.
That is. They reportedly found petrified wood and impressions of leaves, ferns, and other vegetation. The story also is that they found bones which were pronounced to be human, though what exactly bones they were and who pronounced them is not recorded. So I'm going to take this as sort of a dubious part of the story. We need to keep in mind that many of these stories are what have been passed down from the 1800s. And I'm sure some of the facts have been, shall we say, embellished.
It could very well be fish story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My suspicion is that part of the reason they were digging in this spot, and part of what made digging this spot easier, is that they may have been essentially digging out or clearing out a sinkhole. And we know that all kinds of things can end up in sinkholes. That's why you could get like a petrified tree or some, ancient animal bones or something that fell in, or I suppose even like a paleo-human, could have fallen into a pit or something like this and been covered up for thousands of years. So who knows what that was that they found down there. But once they had dug down to a depth of 12 feet, they found an opening in the rock layers. This is a very stratified layers of rock. And they found this small opening, and they kind of noted that a cold draft came from this opening. They did take some rock samples from their pit mine to be tested. And when they got them tested, they discovered absolutely nothing. There was not a trace of silver. And so they abandoned their work. Yeah, they struck out. Now, the next spring, Mr. Dodd happened to check on this hole that they had dug in the hillside, and he found that ice had formed inside the hole. And this was interesting, but he figured it had formed there over the winter.
Right.
Weirdly, though, every time he checked over the course of the summer, instead of the ice melting away, he noticed that it had grown thicker and thicker as the summer went on. And this was just...
That's weird.
Utterly perplexing. By mid-July, the sides of the shaft they had dug were covered in over a foot of ice.
I'm sorry. That's a lot of ice.
In the middle of the summer, okay?
And that's just enough for an American-sized pickup truck to be on a lake.
Oh, you mean if the ice was that thick on the lake, you could drive a truck, a big truck on there. Absolutely. Yeah. That is a lot of ice.
That's a lot of ice.
Just as weirdly as the ice forming in the summer, as the summer ended and fall began, you would think, oh, now the ice is going to get added onto it. It's getting colder. No. The ice and the cave started to melt away. And by winter, it was gone. And this cycle of ice in summer and no ice in winter has been repeated in this strange location ever since. And Dodd realized that he hadn't found any silver, but perhaps he had found something special. And so he set it up as a tourist spot. And I think it cost something like a dime or something to stop by. You could get sandwiches or ice cream. Keep in mind, this is a time with no air conditioning. And so coming to an ice mine to picnic was actually a really popular spot, as this cold air poured out of there. And you could, at one point, they installed a ladder so you could climb down inside and feel how cold it was. Probably a pretty cool novelty in, this rural part of Pennsylvania back then. So is this for real, or is this just a local legend? What's really going on here? Well, it appears this is legit. This is a tourist spot that you can, it still exists today. They have a website you can search up. They're open daily. You can indeed go visit the ice mine in the summer to see the ice for yourself. So this is
that man is making
real
bank from the grave.
It's no longer the same family. There's been, I think, I want to say 3 different families that have controlled it over the years. And it was shut down about 10 years ago, but someone has now revived it and it's back up and running. So I will say the ice mine is not large. Keep in mind, this is just sort of an exploration pit, really. Back in the Popular Mechanics article, they claim it is 8 feet in diameter and 12 feet deep, which is pretty small. The current website for the tourist destination claims that it's 10 feet wide and 30 feet deep. So either Popular Mechanics article from back in 1915 was wrong, or as I would suspect, the pit has been enlarged over the years to make it more of a tourist drawing.
The more people go down into the pit and everything, you're going to wear things down too, especially.
That too, yeah. And there apparently has been a little bit of settling of the bottom. It settled down a little, like one of the articles said that bottom settled 18 inches at one point. Like, things move around a bit. So we got to talk to geologists. Like, what do the geologists say is going on? Yeah, so first off, it's important to note that the rock strata in the hillside where the mine is found is sharply inclined. In other words, there's cracks between the layers, and those cracks are not horizontal. They're at an angle up toward the top of the hill. So like there's been some sort of uplift of the landscape from the time the rocks were formed. And there are hundreds, thousands, probably millions of small cracks that are full of air that run from the top of the hill down to the bottom. So air can literally flow through this hillside. And because the rock is exposed to the surface in many areas, probably covered by thick layers of moss and trees on top of that, this air, it's like a giant, I don't want to say filter, but there's all these cracks the air can come through, and then they're all kind of covered up. You wouldn't see them, but they're all there. In the summertime,
it kind of protects them from the sun then. It doesn't give...
It does. Yeah. The rock does not heat up as much as it maybe you would think it might.
Allow the air to just kind of filter down. Because cold air goes down.
Correct. So speaking of that, in the summer, air blowing down through the hillside and out the cracks in the walls of the cave is strong enough to blow out a candle.
Oh,
so
my.
This is a good volume of air, pretty much constantly blowing through there. In the summer, this air is very cold. It's literally below freezing, the air that comes out. So how can we have
wild
below freezing air blowing out? And why in the summer and not the winter? Well, what we can surmise is that during the winter, cold, heavy air flows down into the hillside and through all these cracks, and it deeply chills all of the rocks within the hillside itself. They get much colder than than rocks normally underground would get, because of all the cracks allow that cold air into the hillside. So this hillside basically, rocks don't freeze, right? But the rocks get to that wintertime temperature, but they're covered with moss and in the shade and whatnot. So they're going to warm up very slowly over the course of the winter. And what happens is in the summertime, warm air enters the cracks in the rocks from outside. But once it comes into contact with the still very cold rocks, it becomes chilled. And as you said, chilled air flows downward. And so gravity is constantly pulling this air down. And as that air gets pulled down, guess what happens? It sucks in more warm air behind it, which then hits the cold rocks, becomes chilled, and flows downward. It pulls in more air, and it starts this convection through the hillside. And it's basically a giant natural refrigerator powered by the density of air. Yeah, and it becomes air conditioned to below freezing. And in the summer,
because like air wants to all be the same temperature. So if it is touching if warm air is touching rocks that are below freezing, then it's going to take, like, the rocks are going to take that heat as much as they possibly can. The air will cool down.
Yeah.
Wild.
And that cold air is going to fall down very cold. It kind of reminds me of my story about the chilling of the air.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that was air getting hot as it fell. This is air getting cold as it gets sucked through the hillside. But what happens is it gets below freezing by the time it's at the bottom of the hill. And you also, remember, in the summer, you have a lot of moisture in the air. And so you have moisture also being brought in. And when that moisture comes into contact with that cold air, you get ice that forms. And yeah, now if it's been a cold enough winter, there's enough cold stored up in the hill to chill the air through most of the summer, if not all the summer. And they have shown that winters that are not quite as cold, it does not chill the hill as much, and the ice does not last as long through the summer. There's a direct correlation between how long the ice lasts and how long the previous winter was, or how cold the previous winter was, we should say.
Okay.
Weirdly, the difference in air temperature on any given day, like outside, drives how much air moves through the system. On the hottest days of the summer is when the temperature difference drives the most air through this natural air conditioner, and thus the hottest days outside are actually the days that feel the coldest inside the mine, which is really cool. Now, to be clear,
it's really cool, Kirk.
I didn't mean that, yeah. To be clear, it isn't actually any colder on the hot days. Like, the air coming out of the cracks is the same temperature all summer long. It just feels colder, partially because of the increased airflow. So to humans, that's going to feel colder because there's more cold air moving past you. Also, the hotter it is outside, just the colder the temperature difference makes it feel colder.
Yeah, you feel the temperature difference.
But because of the increased airflow, the hottest days in the summer are the days with the most rapid ice formation, which just doesn't feel
that
right.
Doesn't compute
at all. But
like,
I love
it.
Around September each year, the cold in the rocks runs out and the ice begins to melt. And by the middle of winter, weirdly, it's actually too warm in the mine for ice to form because any air coming in
from the summer
is being warmed up at that point. And you know, the cold air coming in is being used to chill down all that warm rock at that point. And so you get this weird thing where the ice forms opposite to the season you think it should. And that is just so wonderful. So that's what I have for you. A truly weird, natural, local phenomenon, the Coudersport Ice Mine. They are currently open. If you're in the area, I guess check it out. If you've ever been there, let us know about it. It sounds like a pretty fun little...
Send us a picture.
Little tourist spot, yeah. So that's what I have. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, it'll be Rachel's turn.
Welcome back to the show. So on the show, we've talked about a few different iconic relationships, especially within the animal kingdom. And like we've talked about oxpecker birds before and their relationship with ox and other deer-ish family-looking things.
Yeah.
We've talked about mitochondria on the show. We've talked about clownfish and their relationship with anemone. But I will say we've missed one that is just really iconic. Well, we've missed more than one. You're right.
Okay.
But
there's a big one we're missing.
There's a big one that we're missing that I think we don't think of as really weird. But it turns out it is.
Ooh, okay. I'm here for it. What do we got?
This relationship has actually been thought of wrongly, I should say, for decades.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So scientists, everyone who witnessed what was going on, thought it was happening one way, and it turns out it's not.
Okay. I love it. What do we got?
So wolves have long been in many different types of relationships, both in how they impact the environment around them, as well as just what they're able to do.
Yeah.
It especially since 1997, the gray wolf in North America has been pretty closely studied since its reintroduction to Yellowstone, which is a national park here in the United States. And
probably the most famous,
I would agree with that. We've talked about it on the show, actually, the supervolcano forever ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're fine. Bringing that back, we're okay. But
for now.
Okay. So it seems that for decades, people were witnessing wolves and their buddies, ravens, hanging out together. Okay?
Cool. Okay.
So the relationship that people were witnessing is that the wolves, this is mostly in the winter that they were witnessing these interactions.
Okay.
All right? They were witnessing, because wolves don't really stay together in a pack formation as much in the summer time. They are more, like, they kind of stay together within a territory, but they aren't as, like, close as they are in the winter time when they're really working together.
So the serious pack hunting type stuff is going on in the winter. Okay.
Exactly.
That makes some sense. It's a tougher time to.
Exactly. You want to be able to work together in order to bring down bigger food, as well as to be able to, like, guarantee that you are going to survive. Because if there's more of you, you're able to pull, like, a bison or an elk down.
Yeah.
Versus alone, you're not gonna get those bigger pieces, and you might go hungry for longer.
Yeah.
But in the summer, the food is much more plentiful. You can eat a bunch of blueberries and things of that nature, and you're probably fine.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show, how blueberries are like a huge part of the wolf diet.
Huge. So in the winter, it has been documented by pretty much everyone who's witnessed this or, like, seen the wolves. Ravens seem to be following them.
Okay. That makes sense.
So they're following them. Ravens are a type of corvid, so they're like crows, much larger than crows. They are a black bird, super smart, love a good raven. They're all good ravens. What am I talking about? I named my cat Raven, so, like, we're all there. So ravens are these really big, intelligent blackbirds, and they seem to be following the wolves around, which also makes sense because in the winter, birds got to eat too. They're scavengers, so wolves, they're able to take down some prey, and all of a sudden you got a big flock of ravens ready
picking
to
up the pieces,
eat.
right?
Pick up the pieces, just carving it down. It's truly just an amazing little piece. Now, the thing that was commonly thought was that the ravens are following the wolves.
Oh, I think I see where this is going. This is awesome.
It turns out there's more nuance than that. So this paper, which has been, like, rediscovered somewhat recently, there's a paper done in 2002. So not as recent as I thought, but people are starting to hear about it again. They're like, wait, what?
Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for studies to make it out there.
To happen, yeah. So ravens, like I mentioned, are extremely smart. So they're able to remember places where they've gotten food. We've talked about before crows remembering faces.
Yeah.
Well, ravens will remember where there have been stable food sources. So wolves are to circle around. Wolves are circling around trying to collect and like take down as much food as possible. The ravens are flying around, seemingly following the wolves. What's actually happening is the ravens are remembering where the wolves have killed before. They are remembering the kill sites of the past, anticipating that there could be food found at those sites.
Interesting.
Because they can travel almost 100 miles to find carrion, to find dead food or dead meat wherever they can, especially a hungry raven, and they revisit those sites, especially in the winter. Now,
so is that they're revisiting essentially the territories of the wolf pack?
Exactly.
Okay.
So they are not following the wolves. They're looking at all of the previously successful kill sites that are all around. The wolves are just going through their territory trying to find new food.
Interesting. All right. I what I assumed you were going to say, which would have been even cooler,
would have been
is
really
that
cool.
The ravens were tracking animals and calling or gronking, whatever they do, to try to tell the wolves where the prey was.
Ooh.
I guess that's the next step in the story. Maybe someday they'll figure out to do that.
I mean, maybe, because what else is happening? So that's just part of the story, because the wolves, what ends up happening, wolf packs can be about like 8-ish, up to around 8. They're not huge, but they're not small. Okay, it's more than 1 or 2. They're taking down an elk or a caribou, and say that's 700 pounds. Now, when researchers have gone through and actually like read through or like witnessed, because they have a lot of GPS trackers, not only of the wolves, but also on the ravens to track aerially to see what is going on. They're following the ravens, they're following the wolves, and it looks like it's not actually in sync, which is what researchers expected to find and what we had assumed. What's happening is that the ravens are looking all over at all of the different kill sites. The wolves are finding food, taking it down, and usually fairly quickly the ravens are descending even while the wolves are actively eating. So the bigger the pack, the more you can guard against the birds. Seems to be, it's like a 99.7% chance that ravens are going to be at a kill site with wolves. So pretty much if there's a kill site, there's going to be ravens there. And ravens as blackbirds in the winter, I mean, Minneapolis has a crow population in the winter, that a big old like murder mob that happens. Ravens do the same thing. So this is hundreds of ravens following these wolf packs.
So when we talked about the crows on the show, I think it was one of my topics, and how for a very long time crows have gotten into these winter groups, and we had kind of assumed, I think a lot of that was for protection, even for social reasons, these winter sort of roosts. But I guess this raises that question: are they actually also like the ravens coming together in the winter traditionally because it increases the likelihood of them helping each other to find these kill sites of larger predators? Right.
And the other piece is like, if one raven spots that the wolves have caught, if one raven spots that a wolf has caught a pack has caught some food, they're going to call and pull other ravens in. And it actually has
that
been
Gronk call for a long ways away.
Oh, yeah. And they are going to pull them all in. And the thing is they found that the birds themselves are eating up to a third of the meat. A third of the kill that the wolves have taken down.
I didn't think it'd be that high.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So if it's a 700-pound like elk that they have taken down, that the wolves have taken down, I don't know what a third, let's say it's 600. That's 200 pounds of meat that is just gone. Okay? So it's a 600-pound elk, 200 pounds of that meat is going to the birds. Wow. Literally.
Just imagine what it was like. I assume this same thing happened back when humans, after the Ice Age, were hunting like mammoths. Mm-hmm. As soon as humans took down a mammoth, I gotta imagine the ravens just would go nuts. Can you imagine trying to keep these ravens away from your mammoth you just took down? Like,
no.
Oh my God.
But the bigger the group, the more on guard you can be to protect it from what is going on. So that allows the wolves to be able to eat more food. Now, obviously, this is also goes with cougars as well. Like within 7 days, at least, the ravens are going to find the food. Within a week, they will find that kill site by either a cougar or by a wolf. Now, what do the wolves get out of this? They don't have to get anything out of it. But the ravens also keep an eye out for things like cougars or rival wolf packs. And will caw and actually like call to the wolves and warn them about the rivalry that's about to happen so they can be ready to protect their food. Yes. It has also been witnessed.
Gosh, because I would think if a big fight broke out, you'd be like, have fun, we're going to eat all your food while you guys are fighting.
You'd think so.
It must be that the result of that is a bunch of hungry wolves coming in probably eat even more of the food and you get less.
Exactly.
Wow.
Or like now you, the other piece is like, well, now there's a bunch of wolves that they might go and eat the ravens is the other piece too.
Could be, yeah.
Not super likely, but
no.
But ravens and wolves have actually been shown to have like play behavior with each other as well. So it's like an interspecies, like they've been shown to play with each other in addition through winter. So it's not just it seems from the outside a weird sort of friendship that's happening. Right. But it is a little weird friendship that's happening, which I am excited about, and I love it.
They're both such iconic animals, sort of the North Woods, here, or of the backcountry, perhaps if you're out west more. But very, very cool.
It is very cool, and I will say, like, the paper that was really finding a lot of this was published in 2002. So we can do more with this. But it's still really fascinating to be able to see. I'm really excited. My sources this week, the Bozeman Daily Chronicle, a local newspaper, had a great retelling of all of this. Back in 2026, I say, in March, actually. And that was a really fun article. The article was by Brett French Lee. And then Yellowstone Forever, which is their like naturalist blog, had some really good naturalist notes about the relationship. And then, of course, the article itself, Wolves and Ravens, defining a unique relationship, which was published in 2002. I think that brings us to the end of the show, Kirk.
It does indeed.
Sad.
Thanks. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. We hope that you had a great time. We'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.